How's it going, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be going over exactly what guaranteed placement is when it pertains to the setting and closing industry. If it's something that's right for you, if it's something that is worth investing in, if it's a complete and utter scam, how it actually works, and if you stick to the end, I can go over exactly what you need to do as it pertains to next steps when it comes down to guaranteed placement or getting into the sales and closing industry as a whole. All right. So in this quick presentation, I'm going to break down exactly how setting and closing industry works from a guaranteed placement standpoint. So we're going to start off with you. You are a man or a woman who is looking to get into online closing and online selling. Sounds amazing. The opportunity looks good, 10 to 20 to even what they say 40K a month, which is absurd, but it is possible for the close 1.1%. Now, what's more realistic is 10 to 20. That's something that's actually consistently proven to be a possibility in this industry, but you still got to do everything correctly, and you can't do it the wrong way. So the way it starts is you are a person who maybe went to an online sales school, closer or setter school, or a person who has just heard about the concept of online selling, and you know that if you go to a sales school or some type of program that has guaranteed placement into their funnel or something of that nature, they are going to promise you guaranteed placement into a coaching company, a closing company, so on and so forth, that will actually make you money. Here's the problem with that. So in sales schools, there's not just the business of getting you into sales school to give you guaranteed placement. There's also another side to most sales schools, which is working with coaching companies and business owners on placing salespeople into their companies. So although you are paying around, say, anywhere between 3 to 10 grand to actually get placed into one of these companies, into a sales school where they're going to teach you how to close and set into this industry where a coaching company would find you attractive, say that like, hey, he actually knows what they're doing or she knows what they're doing, and we're going to place you into these companies. Now, this company right here that's making maybe 1 or 2 million a year is reaching out to this sales school saying, hey, I'm looking for salespeople to run, setters or closers to run my company from a sales side. What does it cost to actually put them into my company? So this person, the sales school, will charge this person anywhere upwards to 30 to 50 grand to place you and a couple other people who paid for the sales school to get into a process of guaranteed placement. Now, this sounds like a good process in theory because if you know a little bit about recruiting or how recruiting companies work, they charge a lot to people like you to actually have somewhat of a guaranteed placement into a company. Forget the sales school. Recruiting companies generally just put you into a guaranteed placement program. They figure out what your background is, what you'd be good at, what you're trying to kind of learn, and then they will find a company and put you into that company. They'll skip the whole sales school style. Now, the cool thing about sales school is it gives you both if you invest in that. So it'll give you an education on how to sell, but at the same time, it will also put you in guaranteed placement, which is awesome. Not to mention, for you, they would charge you a lot less. 3 to 5 grand is generally what they would charge people for the sales school and to put you into guaranteed placement, which, although that sounds like a lot, if you know a lot about recruiting companies, they will generally charge you around 10 to 15% of your first year's earnings. So say they guarantee you placement into a company where you do make, in a corporate setting, 10 grand a month, which is $120,000 a year. That is 10% of whatever you're making. So after taxes, probably make around 90 grand. What is 10% of 90 grand? 15% of 90 grand. It is what you would pay the people who give you a guaranteed placement. So you'd be looking at anywhere between 9 to 12 to 13 grand just to get a job. So it's basically the same concept. You pay somebody to put you into a program or put you into a company where you'll make money. In this industry, it's a lot cheaper from a sales side to just do something like this. But here's the issue with it. This company right here will pay 30 to 40 grand for maybe 3 or 4 setters or closers to be put into their company so they could start selling, making guaranteed placement a really cool thing. But if you are a complete brand new beginner, never did sales before in your life, which a lot of people who get into this industry have never sold a thing in their life. They never worked at a 9-to-5 job. They've never worked in car sales. They never did real estate. They never did network marketing. They have zero side of knowledge when it comes down to selling. You would be put into the 90% category. So there's two categories that a placement would be in. There's the 10%, and then there's the 90%. Now, me breaking down these two things is the big difference on what makes what can make sales schools look like scams. It's literally because of this 90 to 10% rule from a behind the scenes standpoint. So 90% of the people are going to be put into coaching companies that are paying the sales school to place them. Now, in these coaching companies, there's not a lot of background checking on them. So this coaching company could have a bad boss, have no money into the funnel, meaning it could be a company that's making less than 300 to 400 grand a year, not a month, a year in revenue. So there's not a lot of profit or money for you to be making as a setter or a closer. It could be a scam offer. They could be selling bullshit. Maybe it's making a lot of money, but the product is sleazy and slimy. Maybe it's something of like Bitcoin dumps, or you don't know. So you're kind of being put into offers just because it's like, hey, we have an opportunity for you. Take the opportunity, you'll make money. Cool. You believe the sales school into this guaranteed placement, and then you're put into this 90%. This is also going to give a lot of headache because you might have to be hopping from opportunity to opportunity to opportunity until you find one that just pays you enough to survive. Not even one that pays you that 10, 15, 20K a month. Now, if you are a skilled salesperson, say you are a person like me who worked in sales for over 6 years, took a company from 1 million to 2 million in the coaching and developing space, has a big resume, has the not only relevant sales experience, but sales experience in general, you will potentially be put into the 10% role if you do well in sales school, which if you sold for 6 years or you sold for many years for that matter, chances are you're going to be put into this 10%. Now, what is this 10%? This 10% is not only for coaching companies, it is for the elite coaching companies. So the elite ones are not the ones that are making 400 grand a year that paid their last dollar to get setters and closers, hoping that they're going to grow their company and that they don't have to do it and just leave it up to the setters. No, the elite companies are the ones that are making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a month on coaching programs or coaching processes, or have something of a product that you can kind of come in once every 3 months or 4 months and do upsells for their events, which will make you a lot of money. But sales schools are also smart in the sense where they're not going to put somebody like me who has sold for years into a company that is 90%, because then they'll know like, hey, bro, I am so experienced and you're putting in me all in these crappy companies. What's going on? Like, I don't want to be put in this. Give me my money back. Sales schools are smart enough to know that if a salesperson is good, they're not going to put you into the 90% role. They're going to put you into the 10%, which will make me a lot of money up front, making it not only people like me making a lot of money online, but I'll also have a good taste in my mouth saying, hey, I've worked in sales for years, and these guys actually helped me make a whole bunch of money. And I'll do a whole bunch of advertising for this sales school that even though they made me a lot of money, they only made 10% of people a lot of money. The other 90% are people who are like you, brand new, never sold anything, are scared to actually close a deal on the phone. And the unfortunate part, that's kind of the truth, these are the only opportunities you could really get. If you're brand new in sales and you've never sold anything, unless you're like a prodigy type person who this sales school says like, oh my gosh, this person has never sold before, but they're just naturally gifted, we'll put them in the 10% role, because maybe we could actually prove that our sales school is worth something, and it could be, kind of good feedback, a chance like, oh, I've never was in school, never did sales before, and I got immediately put into an offer like that. That's how this company works. That's how sales schools work. That's how recruiting companies can work if you just don't do it right. So this is the recommendation that I always make, especially when it comes down to sales schools. If you are interested in getting into the setting and closing industry, but you've never sold before, don't pay a sales school to put you into the 90%. Chances are this 90% or these coaching companies that are paying sales schools over 30 to 50 grand a year, or 50 grand for a pop just to get all these like people to sell for them, you can message these smaller coaching companies, and chances are they'll just give you a chance. So you could work with these guys for free. You don't need to pay a sales school 3 to 5 to 10 grand to get into an opportunity like this. No, you can literally just message this 90% of coaching companies that like, hey, you're not the biggest, but I really want to help your company grow, or you could kind of see that. And that comes with research. You have to do a lot of research to kind of figure out where these companies are. Now, that doesn't mean you don't reach out to the 10% companies. It doesn't mean you don't reach out to them. In fact, I'd recommend reaching out to these people too, because there are a lot of high value coaching companies that are paying a lot that will hire a person who has zero sales experience for the sole factor that they could build you up. Because sometimes sales companies, they really, really hate having to, train a person like me who's sold for 6 years, because I kind of have an inkling or knowledge of how to do things. And some sales companies want you to follow their process exactly to a T. And that's perfect for brand new salespeople. So my recommendation is, if you're completely brand new, do not pay for sales school. However, though, this is where the flip side comes. If you are really skilled in sales and you know that you've sold, maybe you've sold for corporations, maybe you've even sold remotely for corporations, which is even better because this is a full remote job, full remote opportunity. Then I'd recommend looking into a sales school, calling up these companies and seeing what offers that they actually have. Because if the sales school is connected to people like Iman Gadzhi, or connected to people like Luke Alexander, or people who are actually really killing it in the sales and closing industry, then you're going to be put into a really good opportunity. And all you would have to spend is around 3 to 5 grand to be put into a high level opportunity. Screw paying like a regular recruiter that could take 15 to even I've seen up to 20 grand for just to get you an opportunity. You can pay anywhere between 3, 5 to 10 grand for it. 10 grand at the highest too. I haven't seen it really been charged more than that. Honestly, I think 10 grand's a lot. I think you'd probably be perfectly fine with paying 2 to 3 to the 5 grand max to actually be put into coaching companies that are actually legit and actually will pay you good from the beginning. You can work your way up in these companies because they're big enough and they're established enough, and it will put you in a position where you could spend less and make more doing so. That is what you do when it pertains to this. Don't just fall for the advertisement saying we'll place you and you'll make 20 grand the first month. Really look into this coaching industry. Really look at companies that you want to work for. And if you do want to work with a sales school that can put you into guaranteed placement, make sure you know what type of coaching companies they work for, if it's relevant to what you want to sell, and best of yet, if you'll make a lot of money with them or not. And with that being said, that's the entire breakdown. It's not that complicated, but if you do this the correct way, you can actually make a lot of money without having to spend so much of it. I hope you got a lot of value. Back to you, Sean. Thanks, man. I hope you got a lot of value from this video. And if you did, and you're interested in learning more about the setting and closing industry the correct way, please check out my community down below called salesaccelerator.io, where I not only teach people who are brand new on how to get into the setting and closing industry, how do I teach intermediate people who know exactly what to do but want a little bit of better sales skill, or how I teach business owners on how to get the correct setters and closers in your business, how to actually train them correctly, and how to make sure that they actually start producing for you, so not only you make way more money, but the setters and closers that work for you also do the same. Take care. Hope you had a really good time watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.